What if the AI in your phone could solve a medical mystery that stumped 17 different doctors? Well, today we're talking about how artificial intelligence is moving from our screens into the operating room. And in the process, it's completely flipping the script on medicine as we know it. So to really get what we're talking about, I want to start with a story that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a TV show. It's about a little boy, a whole team of doctors, and a medical puzzle that just seemed impossible to solve. Meet Alex. When he was just 4 years old, his whole world was turned upside down by this mysterious, constant pain. For 3 long, agonizing years, his family went on this desperate search for answers, a journey that took them to 17 different specialists, and every single one was a dead end. You know, his mom, Courtney, she just watched her happy little boy totally transform, replaced by a child who was just struggling, all the time. She knew deep down something was seriously wrong, but every doctor they saw could only see one little piece of the problem, never the whole picture. I mean, the symptoms were all over the map. He had this chronic pain, he was chewing on things compulsively, dragging his left leg, getting these awful migraines. He'd even stopped growing. To all the specialists, these just looked like a random collection of separate, unrelated issues. So after 3 years of hitting brick wall after brick wall, in what I can only imagine was a moment of total desperation, Courtney turned to ChatGPT. She just typed in everything. Every single note from every doctor, all the complicated details from his MRI reports, right down to the simple fact that he couldn't sit cross-legged. And you won't believe what happened. The AI spits out a possible answer: tethered cord syndrome. It's this pretty rare condition where the spinal cord gets stuck, basically, causing it to stretch and create this whole cascade of neurological problems. So when Courtney took this to a new neurosurgeon, he looked at the MRI and, boom, confirmed it, right there on the spot. The AI had seen the connection that 17 humans had missed. So this just raises this massive question, right? How on earth can an AI, a chatbot that we use for everyday stuff, solve a medical puzzle that had baffled 17 highly trained specialists? Okay, so how is this even possible? To get our heads around that, we've got to peek under the hood at the tech that's making all this happen. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is a whole new kind of intelligence. All right, so we're talking about something called generative AI. Now, just imagine an AI that has basically read the entire internet. It doesn't just recognize patterns, like, say, spotting a cat in a photo. It actually understands the deep relationships between ideas, which lets it create brand new content, like writing an email, or, in this case, suggesting a medical diagnosis. And here's where you can really see the big difference. Your traditional AI, it's discriminative. You can train it to spot a tumor in a scan, right? It's a specific task. But a generative AI, well, that's creative. It can read a huge stack of medical notes and write a simple summary. Or, like it did for Alex, connect all these seemingly random symptoms to propose a diagnosis. The engine driving all of this is a breakthrough called the Transformer architecture. And its secret sauce is this mechanism called self-attention. Basically, think of it like this. It's the ability to read an entire book at once and instantly understand how a tiny detail in Chapter 1 connects to something all the way over in Chapter 10. That's how it could see the link between a dragged leg and a chewing habit, even if they were buried pages apart in Alex's records. Now, Alex's story is incredible, right? It's a powerful one-off case. But the big question is, how does this tech actually stack up in big, formal clinical trials? Let's take a look at how AI is being used to make medical screening smarter and a lot safer for all of us.
Okay, so let's look at lung cancer screening. We all know that getting those annual CT scans can save lives, for sure. But here's the problem. They also create a ton of false positives. And that leads to a lot of stressful, expensive, and sometimes invasive follow-up procedures for people who are perfectly fine. So the question is, can AI help us do this better? To figure this out, researchers set up a kind of head-to-head comparison between 3 different methods for predicting lung cancer risk. First up, a deep learning AI model called LCP-CNN. Then, a more traditional statistical model. And finally, the current clinical guidelines that doctors actually use, known as lung RADs. And whoa, the results are pretty darn striking. Just look at this graph. It's showing the predictive accuracy of each model. The higher the bar, the better it is. And that AI model on the left, it just blew the others out of the water. It was significantly more accurate at figuring out who would develop cancer within a year, way better than both the statistical model and the current standard of care.
So what does that actually mean for real people? Well, get this. Using the AI model, the researchers figured out that a whopping 2/3 of patients could be safely screened less often. And the risk? The risk of delaying a cancer diagnosis by a year for that group was this tiny number, 0.28%. I mean, that is less than half the risk of the next best model. We're talking about thousands of people avoiding all that stress, all those extra procedures, making the whole system safer and way more efficient. That's a huge deal. Okay, so this predictive power is not just a small improvement. It's really at the heart of a massive shift in how we even think about medicine. We're moving from a world that's purely reactive, just treating sickness after it happens, to one that's proactive and maybe even fully predictive.
And this isn't just happening in one little corner of medicine. It's happening at literally every scale you can imagine. We're talking molecules, where AI is designing brand new drugs. We're talking cells, where it's pinpointing the exact origin of a cancer. For us as individuals, it can predict a heart attack from a simple eye scan, and all the way up to entire populations, where it's forecasting the next global pandemic.
Okay, but let's take a deep breath, because all of this incredible power, it also comes with some really significant risks. This isn't some magic wand, and we have to be super clear-eyed about the challenges ahead.
You know, it's like for every incredible promise, there's a potential peril. These AI models can do something called hallucinating, which, means they can just make stuff up. And then you've got the huge issue of bias from the data they're trained on. Plus, all of this opens up massive questions about our privacy and how on earth we regulate these powerful new tools.
And that's exactly why groups like the American Medical Association are basically heading the brakes a little, urging caution. Their point is simple, right? We have to hold these AI systems to the exact same high standards as any new drug or medical device. We have to demand rigorous proof that they are safe and that they actually work. So, what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean for you? Well, AI in medicine isn't some sci-fi dream anymore. It's here. It's already working in the clinic, in the lab, sometimes behind the scenes, to make our healthcare better. From an AI scribe that lets your doctor actually look at you instead of a screen, to algorithms that make routine screening safer, this technology is already reshaping our health. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. An AI could one day save your life, but it could also make a mistake. So, is the reward worth that risk? Because the medical revolution is already here, and the choices we make right now are going to define the future of our health.